Chuck here at Garden Spot Acres. Welcome to video 42 in the tiny log cabin build. Today, we're finally getting to the floor. Let's take a walk inside. We're going to be using the PERGO XP, the Extreme Performance. Scratch resistant, stain resistant, and it's also waterproof. And it's like an oak finish, like an old oak floor that you would see in like the 50s and 60s. I love the way that looks. And what a funny shaped room to have to put flooring in. Stepping into the front door, you come down a little hallway. Then you have the turn over here by the hearth. Then you come on the other side of the hallway, a little farther than this, so it's not even with this. Then you come into this little nook right here, where I put the cabinets in. Then it goes back from there. Then it finishes up back here. I put some thought in how I wanted to put this floor in. Did I want to start in the back and work my way to the door? Or do I want to work from the door and work my way back? Here's the problem I saw with working from the back with the long piece here, you know, along the back wall, is that when I got up to the door, I'm going to have trouble putting in my last piece because of my door trim here. And if it didn't come out even, this is going to look weird if this strip right here from the door back is angled a little bit. And I didn't want to do that. You know, when I put this building together with these timbers, I try to make it as square as possible, but square as possible doesn't mean it's square, and it doesn't mean this back wall here is parallel to that front wall. It was almost impossible to do that with these irregular timbers. So here's my thought here. I'm going to start up here at the door, and of course these are floating floors, they're not attached, and I'm going to leave 3/8 to 1/2 inch along the hearth and along this wall here, the hallway wall, so that when I get back here, I'm gonna get right about here. Let me move these boards here. When I get right here to the end of that hallway, all the way across, I'm gonna measure from here to the back wall and from over there to the back wall, back in here to the back wall. And if I have to adjust this a little bit, I'm going to be able to twist and turn this piece, because it's all going to be one piece when I get here. And there's going to be enough edge where I don't put it real tight against the borders, where I'm going to be able to turn this a little bit to make this come out pretty even along this back wall, because I don't want somebody looking back here saying, gee, it looks like that's an inch off back here. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be an inch off. I think it's going to be probably 3/8 to 1/2 inch off, possibly. But that's still enough to see, especially if there's nothing in the way to break that line. So after much thought, like I said, I'm going to start at the door, and we're going to start right here, and we're going to put that first piece in. We're going to work around the opening to the bathroom. We're going to slide it underneath that door trim, and we're going to seam it right here in the middle of this bathroom door. So I'm going to have to cut off my boards so that they're meeting halfway right here. Because there's no way I was going to bring this whole thing into the bathroom and try to work this as one big floor. So I'm going to seam it there just for my own sanity. All right, so that's going to be also covered. They make a T cover. It has like a little groove, a little tongue in it, and it has a top, and it just sits over the top of your seams. So you leave a gap, and it sits right down in. Thanks for coming along. This ought to be fun. And I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. But if it is, we'll work it out, and it'll look good. All right, we're ready to lay our first piece of PERGO flooring in. But a little terminology. On PERGO flooring, you have a tongue and a groove. The little short piece that sticks out is the tongue. The longer piece that sticks out is the groove. There's actually a groove cut in the side of the plank. So that's the groove, the part that sticks out a lot. And the part that sticks out a little is the tongue. And you always start with the tongue towards the wall you're starting on. So first piece is gonna go right up against the threshold. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna cut this groove off over here. So I don't need that interfering with anything. And normally you would cut that tongue off and just slice that like 1/8 of an inch off the plank. Get rid of that tongue. But I'm gonna leave that on there because it's not gonna make any difference for me, because I'm gonna have to caulk along this threshold anyways. So the first thing we're gonna do here is cut that groove off right here. And I'm just gonna use my oscillating tool, multi-tool. I mean, you could use a miter saw, you know, you probably could use a razor knife, a utility knife, and cut that off also. Probably goes for the same thing for the tongue if you're starting. And now I can put that closer to my hearth over here. So I gotta do some cuts here. I'm gonna leave 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch over here on this end so that you have expansion. Because this is a floating floor. And with floating floors, you don't want them bucked up against the walls, because when they float and expand and contract, you're gonna have problems. And we're gonna cut that halfway here in our doorway to our bathroom here. So I'm just gonna go ahead right now and cut this off. Then I can cut how I need to underneath my trim work here at the door. I'm gonna need at least 3 of these, in addition to this one cut at this length, to go here. So I'm gonna cut them all at once. While I'm here, I might as well cut that groove off. Now, I'm gonna cut here halfway. This is 3/4 inch planking. So I'm gonna cut there. So we gotta cut that chunk out that deep. So if I cut out 5 1/2 back to here, that should be the chunk I don't need in here, right? That looks good. So we'll cut that out. And then I think we're gonna have to bring this out and cut a piece here. All right, let's see what happens here. Okay, we got her down to that point. See that depth right here? So I'm going to cut right about to here. That way. And I'll do the same thing over here. Okay, here's the piece we just cut out. Let's see how she slides in there now. Be careful tapping on this. Looks like I'm hitting something right there. Let's see. Well, I'll leave a little gap in here for expansion, but I think that looks pretty good. That's going to be covered over here. I don't want to drive that all the way back, then it'll be really tight here. She's good over here. I got a gap in here. Nice and tight. That's good. Looks good over here. So far so good. Got 2 pieces in. Haven't broke anything yet. That looks good. They do make a little block for this. But as long as I'm using a soft edge or the same type of edge against this, it shouldn't damage that, especially when it's spaced out along there. Looks like I need to put a little sliver into here, then bring it out this way. So I'll make it 44.5. Then I'll cut this chunk out of here, and I'm going to cut it at 42 and a quarter, and just leave that little corner on. 42 and a quarter, and I'm going to leave that much on right there. Right, everything looks good here. We got our gaps on each end. We're not too tight over here. The door trim will cover that gap right there. The baseboard will cover that gap. Baseboard covers this. And I'll be back with you. I got 3 more of these or 4 more of these to put in or so. Then we're here at the transition at the other side of the hearth. Floors right into the edge of the hearth on the back side here. Now we're going to take another full one, and that's how much we're going to have to take off in that corner. If you don't have one of these multi-tools, oscillating tools, they're great. You got to get one. They're just so handy for doing this kind of work. If you don't have a battery operated vacuum, you might need one of those too. Okay, our next piece is going to go from the end of that one to the wall over there. So I'm gonna go right up against the wall, and we're right at like 38 inches. How about 37 3/4? But I gotta make sure I measure it from the edge of the plank, not from the tongue or the groove. Actually, it'll be the tongue in the other case, in the other board. Okay, so make sure you're measuring from here. Here's the tongue end of another board. So this is gonna go in this way. So the tongue is facing this groove over here. And I gotta measure right from that plank edge, 37 3/4. When you're cutting this also with these miter saws, I just have the basic 24 tooth blade in here. Go slow. You don't want to chip your edges if you can help it. I mean, it's all going to be covered by baseboard anyways, but who knows, it might chip too far back and you'll see it. So just go nice and slow and you get a nice clean edge. You know, don't bang the blade hard down into your cut. In a normal situation, your wall would be even over here, but you can see my board down here is set in from this next one. So this one might be 3 inches thick. This one might be 3.5 inches thick. So I'm gonna see if I have enough room here. If I don't, I'll have to cut that a little shorter. But it looks like I will to get that up in place. Now I gotta check to see how much I need to cut off my length here. I'm gonna have to cut that much off the whole length of this to get these lined up. Looks like 3/4 of an inch. Okay, let's put this one down and lock it in. Take my glasses off so I can see. There we go. Feel that edge, make sure she's nice and flush right there. And over here, I just put my fingers in the end, and I'm able to move this entire section like I was talking about earlier on the video. That's what I want to do. I want to get out to this line right here, and I want to measure from the edge of that to the back wall back there, and from the edge of it here to the back wall on this side, and try to get those distances as close as possible. That way my line in the back will not be noticeable. Is I'm going to measure the full distance from here to there, and then I'm only going to cut off enough of this one here so that a full piece can finish up over on that side. So I can just take a measurement here. I need 85 inches total. These full pieces are 47 1/4. So two of them together would be 94 1/2. Then I'll subtract what I just said, 85 inches minus 85. So that's 9.5 inches. So I'm going to take 9.5 inches off my left side over here. And that way I'm able to put in a full one over here. I make one cut instead of two. Okay, so we put the cut edge here over this way. That's gonna go in there. Then I'm gonna take another full one. I'm gonna back that one out. I'm gonna put this other full one with this one like this. Drop it in. Now obviously you can't do this when you have 3 or 4 of these hooked together, but with these 2 I think I can do that. So I'm going to lift these up, slide them in. Yeah, I got her tipped into place, and I'm also going to look for a little spacer I can stick in there just to hold it in case it wants to slide back a little bit. So I'll tap it this way. Look at that. Close right up, see it? Just took a little persuasion, but she's in. She's tight all the way down through there. There's the intersection of those 3 planks right here. Can you see any gap in there at all? So my next one, I'm going to put a full one in. A little bad spot right there. Get that out of the way. That might get in between and keep you from squishing these together right. Make sure my gap over here I can cover with my baseboard. Definitely, baseboard's 3/4 inches. Now what I'm going to do here is, when I've got this here like this, I'm going to leave a little gap here. Probably could leave a little bit less. I got to be able to push that down all the way. So I'm going to go ahead and put my weight over here. Clip this into place. Okay. Now I got to close that gap. Now that little gap can be closed from the end over here. Here's the pry bar tool that I made for the laminate flooring. All I did was take this end and I bent it over at a 90. A little bit less than a 90 maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put a spacer in down here. Cause she's gonna move on me. But I can put it in here. Can you see it down there? I can put it in there and slide my piece over now. You just hear it give, just pop right into place, see it? Nice. Last piece on before the transition. Another little helpful hint. If you're working by yourself, make sure you put some weight on here. If you had somebody else helping you, they could hold this end down while you slide this together. I'm just using my battery tool here. It's holding it flush. I can't go any lower with it. So I'm just going to go up there now and pry it into place. And directly across from it, I have my block over here so my whole line can't move. Now I'm going to pry on this, then I'll keep the camera over here on the gap. See it go together? There's no gap down through here. Nice and tight, and it's perfect. You can't even feel that. Okay. So now we are at the transition. And luckily, if you take a look at that, where I didn't put this side all the way down, this wrap piece here that comes around and wraps this, looks like I can start over there with a full piece and bring it down to here. And then I can put a piece in over here behind. But before we do that, I'm gonna clean all this stuff up. Get everything moved out of here. That's all going to the dump tonight. I'll probably just take the last 2 pieces out of there, get all the garbage cleaned up, and I'll take my last 3 boxes of PERGO and I'll lay them in over here so that it gives them extra weight on here so she's less apt to move. And just like magic, we're all cleaned up back there. Now I need to take a measurement from here to the back wall and from there to the back wall. And let's see how far we're off and if we can adjust this at all. Can you see the red dot right up there? I'll wiggle it. Can you see it? Let's see what we got. 4 6 3/4. Oh, gotta make sure I get the red. There we go. Get a kind of a straight line. I think right about there is good. Hit the hold. 4 6 15/16. So 3/4 is 12/16. 15ths, that's 3/16 off. So she's a little bit farther away on this end right here. I'm not even sure if this is worthwhile moving 3/16 of an inch. And I'm sure somewhere in the middle she's probably different anyways. That's just for kicks. Let me check it down farther. Let's check it right here, about 3 feet away. See what we get there. Four 6 13/16. Four 6 3/4. So she's 4 6 3/4, 4 6 3/4, 4 6 13/16, 4 6 15/16. Man, if I have to move it, it's only like a 1/16 of an inch down there. Is it worth it? So I'm really happy with that. So now it's gonna look pretty nice out in the back end here. So our next step, put a long piece in here, finish it off, then come back and finish off that little nook that goes in the opposite direction. "81 degrees yesterday, 48 degrees today. Yesterday I had the fan on, the windows open. Today the fan's off, windows are closed, and the stove is going. Crazy April weather." All right, we left off right here at this little offset here, going into the big area here. And luckily I'm able to come straight across with a piece. If you look straight down there, it's going to go right underneath this wrap piece. And I have this little cutout back here I need to put in. So if I put this piece in, leave a little gap underneath my toe kick. And if I were to lock that in right there, I need to put a piece here. Oh, I could go 22 inches long And I can go 5 1/4. I had a piece here that came out of the box with a big chip in it. And I saved that piece because I knew I needed something in here. So let's see if I have my 22. Oh, perfect. I can get rid of that chippy piece. So I got my 22 here, and I'll have my 5 1/4 this way. Five 1/4. Okay, I'm gonna go out and cut this off right here, and I'll be back in a second. Let's lift this one back off here. Pull this out. Put this one in backwards. If I can lift it up enough. Yep. And I think right about there will work. Uh-oh, just popped out of here. There we go. She's in. I think I'm going to go ahead and put this piece in next. Then I'll come back over here with a shorter piece and work that way. Well, hopefully that's enough right there to keep that from moving. So I got to pop this little bit in right here. Oh, she moved in. That's good. Excellent. Excellent. I'm going to pop this back out of here. And I'm going to leave that in there for the next board. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put another one here. This is how you would normally do this on a floor. You would stagger it. You might not necessarily do every line. You would come back over here, put one here, put one here. Then you can come back over here and put another one in. Then go ahead and finish your ends off. Now if I put this one in, it's going to line up with that line right here. So I need to take off some on this side right here, and then we can place it in. I don't want to take too much off these. I don't want to waste too much because I'm pretty darn close to having exactly enough for the cabin. So I think I might just go like that. You know, each package covers like 19.5 square feet. But when you start cutting these off, I'm losing 1/3 of a square foot right here, like 1/4 of a square foot. And over here I probably have, 2/3 of a square foot. So pretty soon you're losing your square footage by staggering your ends, of course. So you always got to figure that in. Remember all those little pieces I threw away? Those were square foots I was throwing away. I'll leave that in there until I'm done with this end. Matter of fact, I'll share it between those two, because I still need to tap down. And what I'll do is I'll put one more in here, a smaller piece, stagger my ends, then I'll work my way that way. Now I just have those 3 staggers to finish. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this one, leave that one for a minute, then I'll come back over here and do a couple more. Then I'll finish off a couple more staggers over here. Okay. Here's the piece I need for this part of the stagger. And I'll take this other piece from that full piece and we'll switch it around here and we'll use that to start over here. And that gives me a stagger here from this line all the way back to here. Okay, a little gap there. Take my pry tool. Yeah. Make sure I put weight here. I don't want these to be uneven. If they are uneven, I'll end up maybe chipping a piece. We'll pop it into place. Now I'll start back here again. I'll get a few staggers, finish a couple staggers, and I'll be back with you when we're getting a little bit closer. Well, I only got like 2 and a little bit more strips to put in here. Time to get my tape measure back out and see how we're running against this back wall. Over here we have 17 and 5/8 right to the edge of the plank. We have 17 and, holy cow, 17 and 5/8 right to the edge of the plank. Cool. Let's see what it's in the middle. A little bit less than 17 and 5/8, just a whisker. Well, I'm happy with that because that means I can put my next 2 strips in here. Then I can just take 3 strips and just go out and cut them all to width all at one time. That's neat. So for our final little strip in here, I'm gonna make it 2 1/4. That gives me enough room behind to get my pry bar in there to pry them into place. That's the only way you can do it on the last strip here. So it looks like 2 1/4 all the way down through there. And that's gonna take 2 full pieces and a partial piece. Okay, back inside, got my first strip, my second strip, and I haven't cut the third one yet because I don't want to waste that whole piece, and I'll just cut it to length before I cut my strip out of it. That way it gives me a piece I might be able to use in the bathroom. Just set that in there. Grabbing a piece with a piece of foam on the back. Tap that down. Give it a little tug. This looks like she's in there. Set that in. And I'm gonna make sure that's down before I try to push that in there. Yep, push it into, there we go. Oh, that's easy enough, wasn't it? 34 3/4. So I'm gonna cut that 34 3/4 to length first, then I'll cut my 2 1/4 strip out of that. Last piece. Will the last piece be the most difficult piece? Or will it be the easiest piece? We shall see, won't we? And of course I made it too long. Let's see how many people I can drive nuts with this method. Went right in. Now I just gotta squeeze it back together. There she is. Let's take a look, see how this looks from the front door. Well, it's nice to have all those PERGO boxes out of here. Along the cabinet, along the back wall, side wall, here's the hearth, and in and around, and there's the bathroom door. I think that looks really nice. I think it really goes well with the dark wood on the walls, the lighter wood up here around the windows. That looks pretty nice. My little rustic log home. Hey, thanks for coming along. I really appreciate you guys taking your time to watch my videos. If you could you hit that like button, leave a comment. Both of those go a long way to how many views I get. And if you could you share it with your friends and families? Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next episode in the Tiny Log Cabin Build. We'll see you on the next one. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.